The old Telegraph Track. This track that you see on screen has to be Australia's most iconic four-wheel drive track. After packing up camp at the Bromwell Roadhouse, which sits just 100 metres from this starting point, we begin the track twisting and turning through a few kilometres of bush tracks before immediately being confronted by the infamous Palm Creek. Palm Creek crossing is the first of many if you're tackling the track from south to north, and for some unlucky overlanders it's as far as they get. This creek crossing is barely drivable, and safety rated recovery gear, a winch and driver experience is necessary if you plan on proceeding north. The entrance is steep, the creek is boggy, and the climb out is a definite winch job that's not for the faint-hearted. We're at one of the first crossings, the first serious crossings for the Tele track, and that is Palm Creek. So we'll just have a look down there. Everyone seems to be bypassing Palm Creek. This is it. As you can see, it drops right down. We've heard from the locals that it's a little bit deep at the other end and a little bit hard to get out because the banks are a bit steep because of the wet weather that we've had through the top of the cape. So we'll see what everyone else is doing and then we'll probably follow them. Okay, we're a little bit close. We're down having a look at the exit point to Palm Creek. So the local knowledge is that we're going to take a right turn. There's no cut vehicles that have made it to the top yet, so we have to winch. So it's this sloshy part in the middle that we're going to have to winch through, and the tree on the top left. Once we get halfway up that climb, we should get enough traction to then drive out. So the plan will be to drive through, and obviously we'll stop high on that mud pit, hook the winch cable up, and then hopefully winch the rest of the way through. After planning our Palm Creek exit, we then decided to pop around and have a look at the alternative Palm Creek crossing. The first one, which you've just seen on camera, had a gnarly entrance but an easier exit that still required the winch to get out. The crossing that we're heading to now has an entrance that isn't as steep but a much steeper winch out of the other side to get out. We decided to stick with option 2. Driving down this section is a lot steeper than it looks on camera, but we've walked the track and we've worked out our wheel placement. Wait till these guys get out of the way. It's undrive. So. You can drive up the first bit? Yeah, we'll drive up. We'll get halfway up that bank. But then I'm just not going to let the wheels spin too much, otherwise we get track for everyone behind us.
It's gross.
The climb out of this river was almost vertical, so the plan was once we started to spin the wheels was to just stop and then connect the winch. That way we weren't digging the track up or wrecking it for anyone who was coming through behind us. The old Telegraph Track has over 20 major creek crossings with several small fords in between. The drive here is between Palm Creek and the North Alice Creek. We travelled this track early June 2019 and there was still plenty of water around. The track this time of the year is literally creek crossing after creek crossing, with these small, easier parts of the track in between. Not all of these sections of the track are as easy to navigate as this, and the track has heaps of boggy sections and a lot of deep off-camber ruts to try out any vehicle and driver. Because of the old Telegraph Track's popularity, you'll find that any harder sections of the track or any creeks that you drive through, you're always going to have spectators and someone recording what you're doing.
final call. The writing's on the wall. We fell and now we walk in the ruins of our love. Days gone fading, hearts still aching. I can't control it, I can't control it. I know, keep pretending that we could never make it. I know you know it, I know you know it, I know. In the late night, when the lights out, can't escape now. We lost, gets me every time in the moonlight, and I can't get out. Baby, I know, baby, I know. I can't let go, I can't let go. The nights are cold and the sun won't show. I can't let go, can't let you go.
The old Telegraph Track boasts some of the most versatile four-wheel drive terrain in Australia. It was established in 1884 and operated between 1885 and 1962, and it was the only form of communication for people living in the Cape York Peninsula. The 350km Telegraph Track is only accessible by four-wheel drive, and experience, a winch and recovery gear is recommended. We completed the track in 2 whole days, but I recommend taking 4 to 5 days so you can enjoy the many free bush camps stretched along or near the track. Spend quality time at the sites such as Fruitback Falls, Elliott Falls and Nolan's Brook, and soak in the surrounding landscape.
Hello. Have they already gone through? Oh, they asked to, yeah.
Yeah, walked up there and walked straight across.
Okay. Was that alright to drive through?
What's that?
That was alright?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Not difficult.
Okay. Where'd you come? Right up here?
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks, mate.
so you are turned up.
Ta.
The water here isn't deep, but as you can see, it's fast. So it's important that if you can see the bottom and you know that there's no crocs around, walk the creeks before you drive it, because this creek actually had quite a few little potholes in it that were deep if we had have dropped in them.
We're at the infamous Gunshot Creek. We chose to bypass because Gunshot, the actual original Gunshot, is here on the left. The easier Gunshot track is where these people are walking up and down now. However, we still would have done panel damage with the way that our vehicle is set up. The left side would have dropped into the ruts on the left hand side of that decline, and we would have hit the side of the vehicle on the sand wall. So we chose to bypass around just because we've come this far from home and I don't want to ruin the vehicle. I believe there's a car coming down now, so we'll still have something to watch. The old Telegraph Track has been a trying track today. We've had to constantly stop. We're in a line of about probably 12 cars that keep having to stop and either track build or work something out to get through bogs. We've come across a lot of cars that have been bogged that we've had to either help out or wait. Obviously, we're at the back of this queue with a few more cars behind us. We have pulled up at Cockatoo Creek, so we're just going to have a look. There's quite a few people on the track today, so we have to wait each time someone else goes through before we do, which is fine. All great people.
As you drive along the Tally track, each time someone gets bogged, you'll usually find that the group or those people travelling behind them will end up catching up, and everyone will end up in one big group. So as you can see here, there's quite a few cars starting to build up. So if you plan on doing the Tally track, try to do it in the off-holiday season. We did this track early June, and this isn't busy, but it was still enough where you had to wait for people. We were lucky there was a great group of people that we were travelling with.
So obviously each water crossing we check it out to see the depth and how treacherous it is.
As I walk along the track here towards Cockatoo Creek, it just shows the importance of walking a track before you drive it. This track has got quite a lot of drop-offs, a few bog holes, and in the water there's a lot of huge boulders that stick out and can cause damage to the front of your vehicle, and there's a lot of holes that you can drop into that are very deep. By walking this track first and checking the water for crocs before we entered, we were able to place people along the river as markers for the vehicles to use as guides to drive in between to avoid obstacles and the deep holes.
Back length.
The Cooper ST Max tyres that you see us running here are the most reliable tyres that I've ever had on any of my four-wheel drives. We put these tyres on just before we left this Cape York trip. We travelled 6 of the roughest roads and tracks in Australia and 16,000 kilometres, and we got the whole way around the country on the same 4 tyres without a puncture. As the shadows started to lengthen, Hayden and I decided to call it a day and pull up halfway along the old Tele track at the junction where the PDR meets the old Telegraph Track just before you get to Fruitback Falls. Thanks for watching Mywayoffthehwy's Cape York episode 1. Please remember to hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up. Next episode we continue with part 2 of the old Telegraph Track, and we make our way all the way to the most northern tip of Australia.